Hey guys, we got Grandma here and we got the squirrel. And we got her car here and she's got a grinding sound. I drove it the other day and I looked at this rotor and it doesn't look too healthy. It doesn't look like the pads are really contacting it proper. And there's a grinding noise on this side. She's got a rattle. It looks like we got some plastic clips missing back here. See if we can fix this up. I see some long grass on here. Somebody's been mowing lawn next to the car. And on the driver's side, the rotors are a little bit grooved on that. And if you remember, these are the, I think it was Detroit axle we put on the slotted grooved rotors and pads here just a year ago. So I'm a little concerned why. I think road salt is some of this, but let's maybe I'll drive around the circle here. There's a grinding sound, and my concern was I thought it might have been the parking brake pads fell off inside here. If so, we'll have to replace them, but let's give this a road test. Alright, we got 77,000 miles, and I think it was around 68 that we did brakes last year. So, she doesn't drive it a lot, but we're in New York, and we have road salt, don't we?
Yeah.
We do. Let's see if we can hear that sound and replicate it here. You always want to road test it. I'll listen closely. I hear it in the back here. Let me get going a little faster. Hear that grinding sound? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the parking brake. Hear that terrible sound? I don't know if you can hear that. So the parking brake goes up about 4 clicks and it feels good, so it's possible they're okay, but I can definitely hear the grinding sound when the brake's applied. So let's get it in on the little lift there and test it out. I'm just backing up now. Listen to this. Sounds like the right rear. So, first time with a customer car on the lift, even though it's Grandma's. We've had ours on there a couple times, but we had the go-kart on there. We've had all kinds of stuff on here. So anyways, what we're going to start off with is I want to turn the rear wheels. Wheel bearing feels tight. Those we replaced, I don't know, was it 2 or 3 years ago now? Probably. And then, hear this? This is a problem wheel, hear it? So we'll get taking this apart. I'll get some tools out. This is the rear emergency brake, parking brake shoes that were on my Traverse over there. And what happened is, you see the steel on this?
Yeah.
There's no pad, is there?
Mm-mm.
They fell off. And so,
How come a pad would fall off?
because they bond them now. What they do is they glue them on. They used to rivet them on. And they're glued on. And they fall off. So, I'm thinking that's a problem here. And if it is, what I bought to be prepared, we got on the old Amazon. There it is. We got TRQ, TRO, whatever it is here. We got rear parking brake shoes. I've got a hardware kit, because usually that's the reason everything rusts out in there. And then I got rear shoes, or rear pads and rotors. So if it needs it, we're going to do it all. Grandma needs her brakes. Alright, I got a 14 millimeter wrench here. I want to take the caliper off. And I think it's 14 on the bracket too, but sometimes I take them off as a unit, but I think I'll try, I'll try just a caliper first. Not a lot of room to get a gun in here. I got me a parts bucket. I don't know how well you can see here. I should put a light shining down probably. Usually blind the camera. Oh, there's anti-seize on that. Looks like I've done it. There's Tiger. So we took a little break. Grandma didn't have any breakfast this morning. She didn't even have coffee. She came over kind of early, so I went in and made some coffee. Then we had some eggs on the grill and some rye toast, and give her a little snack. Don't do that to all the customers, right? So see the anti-seize? I goop them up pretty good. And then sometimes just wrestle them, and that pushes the piston back sometimes. See what we got here. See, these pistons corrode pretty bad, don't they? Almost to the point where we need calipers. Let's see if that's our problem. Set that out of the way. Now we look at our pad. I don't know how well you can see that. Can ya? Get that light up here. They are worn down quite bad. So, we put in new hardware, new pads, new rotors. I think on the front, last time we did new calipers. Yeah, these say Subaru on the caliper. These are original. It's a 2013. I bet we have to put some calipers on it. The slide, this is good. Oh, this slide is not. It moves, but not freely. So if the slide gets stuck, then the caliper can't move properly. Now you see what I see right here? I see a problem. We got camera trouble. Let's see here. Let's get in here and look a little closer. You see what I see? This pad looks like it's moved. It's not in the same curvature as the rotor. Let's see if that pad's broke free. So what I got is a prying apparatus here. We'll see if we can get these pads out without harming anything. They are quite stuck in there. They're supposed to slide back and forth, and I think because we're in upstate New York, yeah, they're stuck. This one here, I might be wrong as far as the curvature, but that did not look good. That is frozen right on there. So I don't want to harm them. There's no ridge right here on the edge of this rotor, not much to speak of. So I might go ahead and take the bracket off first and bring them out as a unit so I can check them out before I damage them. Let's see if I can get this bracket off from here. These are going to be tighter, right? And break your hand doing it. Get a wrench on a wrench, maybe. Alright, I fought it. I got the bolts out. I had to heat the one up for the caliper bracket, and it was a 13 mil head on it where the other one was 14. And the head's smaller. All the rust is on that. So I had to use a 13 mil and I had to heat it up. But you can see the anti-seize. So they weren't seized on there, but they were, I don't know, corroded. So it looks like I'm correct on the brakes. I don't know what you can see here. The inside pad is broken. You see that? Oh, there it is. How many pieces? Nothing. So let me see what's going on here.
Something that important. Why do they glue it together?
I know it. Let me pull this rotor off. All right. So inside the rotor here, that don't look too bad. The rotor itself might be usable, but the pads weren't doing anything here, just making that grinding sound. So what would you do if it was your grandma, you know? Dawson's grandma. Do we have to put brakes on it? I would say probably put rotors and pads. You see this surface here is shiny, and it's not. I'll get it out in better light and we'll inspect everything. I wanted to see what the condition of these were. That sound made me think that this pad had broken loose and was grinding around in there. And here's our new backing plate. Let me get this light up here better. This backing plate's in nice shape still. That's good. We got them from Subaru. The shoes themselves look okay. It's only a parking brake. You know, nobody hardly uses it. Do you ever use it? I doubt it.
Oh, that's the
Parking brake. Do you ever use it?
the emergency one.
Yeah. Do you ever use it?
Yeah, once in a blue moon. You're supposed to use them once in a while, just so.
Yeah, just so they don't rust up. You can see the studs here. I put anti-seize on it. I put anti-seize on those. The problem with these is the bolt sticks out past a little bit, and then the rust gets on the thread. Now, the calipers don't look too good. See the rust in that?
Yeah.
Really bad shape. And this has to go back in the bore, and all that rust is going to go back under that seal. So we're going to have to clean that up a lot and see if they're even usable. Might be able to get these locally. These are Subaru. Sometimes Subaru might be cheaper than buying them aftermarket. We'll check on that, see if she wants to do it. When you apply the brakes, they do work. So I would think that if the calipers are bad, the pedal would stay down. The pedal won't return. The pedal would be, you know, whatever, hard. But they are working. And I know that slider's stuck. So we'll continue with that. I'll get them out here when we clean these up. So I don't know if you can look closely here, but you see all this corrosion? These are shot. And look at the junk coming out of them. I've seen them in the past have a rust hole in them and leak right in there. And these don't look good down in the bottom. I'd consider putting them on. They're 2013. You know, these have moved an awful lot over the years. And you see I think if this piston went back in the bore, it'd probably tear that seal. I can clean these up a little bit and we'll see what the other side looks like. But you see all this road salt? Let me show you this salt here. This is road salt not being washed off. See that white?
Yeah.
That's going to eat up everything. And so my recommendation for people who live in the North Country that put salt on the roads is disassemble your brakes every year, clean them up, spray them off, paint them if you want to, paint the calipers and whatnot, and I think you'll end up getting an extra year or so out of your brakes anyway. But if you see the brake lines, see this is all road salt still on there. See all that salt right there? So this car hasn't been washed underneath at all, and this is just going to keep eating away everything. And so, you know, you can wash the outside body, but you really got to get underneath and clean. Look at all this up on the frame. So the salt's what's getting after it. See what it's doing to the suspension parts and everything. I guess if you can crawl under there with a pressure washer is a good thing, or do the undercar bath a couple times, and every pothole or rainstorm drive through the puddles and get it washed off, because This is the problem. It's just getting after everything. Well, let's get out and look at the rest of these parts. Do it. So what we got.
Put the new on if you got it.
We're gonna have to. See that road salt? Look at that number it does on everything.
You know what?
It just eats away. So we're gonna have to clean this up, file it up.
That don't look very good, or is it supposed to look like that?
No, but they get hot and cool, and then you hit water on them. That's what happens. But here's a pad. There's 1, 2, 3 pieces, and see the metallic in it. These are ceramic, and see they're bonded. They're glued right there.
Why did they glue them?
Well, I don't know, but
How did they used to put them on there?
they used to rivet them. The problem with rivets is it takes up space. So if they put a rivet in there, you don't get the full life out of the pad. But you see the inside of this, you can tell we put these on new.
Yeah,
A
year ago.
year ago. But I think a lot of her problem compared to most people is she'll drive to town and then park it for a week and then drive it to town, and it just sits in there, you know. I guess do as much underbody cleaning as you can. And like I said, on this rotor, I'm concerned with this right here. Is you see it's not contact. Touch that. It's not, there's,
Yeah, you can see it.
I mean, there's nothing for the pad to really bite onto. So if we put new pads on, which we have to do because it's broken, it's only going to last 5 minutes. Going to rip that pad up pretty good. And then this one, this slider works great. This one doesn't even move. I can get it to turn, but it does not move back and forth. And I always pop these off and I put lube in them. And I'm sure I did that because I always do that. But you can see these pads are supposed to slide back and forth in this stainless steel slide, and they don't move at all.
Did you order parts, that part too?
This I didn't, the caliper bracket. Here's a squealer right here, and that squealer sticks inside the pad, and that wasn't touching anything yet, but you see the backing plate jumped off. Look at that.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange? 1 year old, and it's what, 10,000 miles?
Mm-hmm.
So all these brakes got on them.
9,000.
9,000 miles. So we're going to have to do it again, guys. Let me get this apart. I want to see if this is repairable. See why this is seized up. I might pull off the other tire over there and check them on that side also. I didn't hear any noise over there, but if I do one side, I always do the other side. You don't put one new tire on a car, especially if it's like symmetrical all-wheel drive like this, is you got to do the axle or all four, and same with brakes. You can't do one side. You're buying both, you might as well put both on.
Well, if you need to buy a new one of them, do it.
Well, if we can get it locally, but I think we might have to buy calipers, and if we can get what they call a loaded caliper, it'll have the bracket, and it might even come with pads, but I'll check on that. And we've got a dealer right down the road, 4 miles, so sometimes we'll check with Subaru, and they're a better price than at the aftermarket. So let's see what we can come up with. Starting to sprinkle outside here. Glad we're inside. So I checked at Subaru, and they are closed. Dealership is changing hands, which is weird. So we're going to be buying new calipers from Advance Auto because we need them today. Otherwise, she has no wheels. A loaded caliper comes with a bracket, new slides, bushings, and a brake line crush seal. So I'm going to order them. I'll order them online, save 15%. Advance Auto. South Main Auto uses Advance Auto. I usually have pretty good luck with them. Usually if I get through Amazon, I like Detroit Axle. And that comes as a kit too, and I'm pretty happy with them. But I think what happened here is this pin set up, and it didn't slide. It overheated this pad, and then you see the inside of that. It overheated the glue, whatever. The pad fell apart. It destroyed the rotor. So we got to do this all over again. I'm going to take this side apart and confirm that that's all we need is the same thing. And I probably will get 2 calipers and do it as an assembly. I want to make sure that there's no other parts broken in here. Alright, I got this side apart. As you saw, I had to use a torch, just a propane, but I couldn't get the darn bolts loose. And when I did get them out, you can see the anti-seize on them. Get in focus here. I use anti-seize, but the head of the bolt is all crusty, rusty, and you can't get the 14 on it. And then you go down to 13, you can't get the 13 to fit. You can't get a 1/2 inch to fit. You can't get a 9/16 to fit. Once you chisel away the rust, you got to beat a 13 on there. You break it free, and yet the 13 opening won't fit on it, so you got to use a 9/16 open to get the bolt out. So we're going to be buying 4 bolts. The rotor is still, in iffy condition. If you're putting new pads on, it's got to be machined down. You machine it down, you might as well put a rotor on it. Rotor drum. The same thing with this caliper. This slide is frozen. Like it doesn't come in and out. This one does. The pad. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, look at this. I just touched the pad with my finger and it broke. Check this out. Gotta show Grandma over here. I just touched that. Look at that. Fell right away. See that? There's your brakes. Wow. So what would have happened is she would have applied the brakes kind of heavy and the pad would have broke, and then the piston would come out and push onto the rotor, and she'd have like very little brake at all. Let me go back and get this pad. Glad I didn't drop it on your phone over here. But see there,
yeah,
this one's not broken this way, but the adhesive came loose.
Yeah.
Wow. So probably from riding, once them pins set up like that, the pads get really hot. And that's not much of a brake pad to stop a car. My truck pads are about like this by like that, like 3 times that size. And what I wanted to see before I ordered any parts is confirm that the e-brakes are in good condition and the backing plates, everything here is in good shape. So we don't need those parts. Springs are all good. Everything seems to work. We verified that by applying the brake. And the reason we heard the noise backing up is those pads were just shucking around in there. And she said there's another rattle in the back here. And on the other side, there's some missing pins. And over there, some broken pins. And this exhaust, we welded about a year ago anyway. And it's got a couple other spots. It's getting a little loud. So we're probably going to have to do an exhaust here soon. I'll look at that also. But I'm concerned with the brakes and getting this together first. So now I'm going to go ahead and order a loaded caliper. Alright, so here's our brake pads. That Detroit axle. Part number P1114. And these are the ceramic. They give you the stainless slides. They give you the grease. And your 4 pads. Here's the rotors. Detroit axle, slotted, drilled. S31605. Aren't they pretty? Come in plastic. They don't put grease on them now, so we don't have to worry about cleaning them that much. Pretty. So now we got a pair of those. We got our pads. We're all set with that. What I did order was the hardware kit for the emergency brake, the parking brake. That's the number. And I did order the, I can get them open one-handed here. Are they sealed? I did get the parking brake shoes because I showed you earlier, right here, that's usually what they come out like. They fall apart. These are in good shape on the car, and that gives you the pin and clip with it. The reason I ordered them is because I didn't want to tear this all apart and find out they're broken, and then I got to order them. So I'm going to return them. Both sides are in good shape. So I'm going to return them. We're going to get the calipers, and they're going to come with brackets. And we checked the brake hose. The brake hose looks in good shape. Hopefully the bolt will come out decent, but it doesn't matter because we're going to get a new bolt and a new crush washer and new calipers. So we're going to have to bleed the brakes. I think we bought some brake fluid last time, so I think we're good on brake fluid. And this brake hose is in good shape. So I ordered them through Advance. They are in stock. I got 20% off, so saving her a couple dollars. We're going to head down and get the parts now so we can continue. I'll go ahead and return these to Amazon, get her a little credit. All right, we're over here on the passenger side. I got back from town. It was a fiasco. Went to Advance Auto Parts, and they had the caliper in an open package, and it had missing hardware and the banjo bolt and the crush washer, so I can replace this. You got to put new in. So on your caliper, this is the right hand side, but you always want to make sure that when you hook your line and your bleeder's on the top, otherwise it'd be on the bottom. You couldn't get the air out of it. So that's how you can tell that. But what I want to do is we checked out our brakes. Our e-brake works fine. All the parts are here. The springs are good. So we didn't use any of that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start assembling. So I'm going to take one of the rotors. Is this a seal bag? All right. And check it over to make sure all the surfaces are clean. There's no oil on it. It's kind of strange, but they didn't rust, and then there's no oil on them. Normally you spray them with WD-40. What we do have to put that plug in, and so I got to grab the rotor. I can do that at the end, but before I put it together, we have to put the plug in to keep the debris out. And then let's see if there's a location tab. It makes a difference. It went on like this before. So that's on. Now we're going to do our caliper bracket and caliper, and they're already mounted. And so you see here, you want to check your slides, make sure it moves freely. We can do it right here. It's got to move like this freely, back and forth, so when it returns, you know. So now let's load our pads in. And oh, the other thing I got is, remember our bolts were damaged. Now this is all they had, one package. That's all they stocked. And the bolts are a 125 by 40 millimeter, and they're the wrong length. The original bolts got kind of beat up, you know, getting them off. And you see these are going to probably scrub onto the back of the rotor. So I said, well, I'll take them anyway and I'll grind them off. But they only had 3 of them in a package. Isn't that strange? Instead of a 4-pack. So I headed over to the local Tractor Supply across the street, and they had M25 by 30s, right? M10 125 by 30, and they had 4 of them. They package them like this, $2 a piece now. Gotta have them. whatever. Gotta have them. So there's our bracket, and then we got to get our brake pads. And sometimes these are all the same. And let's see if they are. They don't look it. They look like there's an inner and outer, and a left and a right. So let's get this opened. Sometimes I have the squealers on all four. And then, see, these are a bonded brake pad. They take the surface and glue it to it. These are Detroit axle. So we got to have one inner, one outer, one with a squealer. So when it gets down to that point there, there's about 1/8 of an inch left. They make that squealing sound. So let me get this assembled. I'll get some room out here. So I dismounted the unit, got my clips, got my grease. I got my inboard and outboard pad, and got my bolts, my wrench. Now let's go put them on. Alright, so I put by hand a lug nut on here, and that holds the rotor still. And then we're going to put our bracket on and dry fit it. See the rust coming out. And then we're going to take our bolts, our new ones. Like I said, they're a M10 125 by 30 millimeter. There's one. Drop the other one there. It's a little tight on this side of the garage. I got the Lincoln welder behind me. A bunch of tractor stuff. So I don't have the room on this side, but we're going to put a little bit of anti-seize. You know me, right? Anti-seize everything. We're in upstate New York, Rust Belt, right? That way we can hopefully get them back out. Maybe I'm going to tell Grandma to go ahead and plan on us taking the brakes apart once a year just to clean it and put her back together. So let's take and put our bracket on. We always get anti-seize all over us here. And get this the right direction. Oh, nice when they thread right in. Isn't that nice working with new stuff? So Grandma rode with us. We went to town, but she got injured last night with her neighbor kitty cat. She got bit. She went out to pet it and it bit her. So these are 17 millimeter, quite a bit larger head on them. And she had 2 cuts on her, well, on her hand, and the one looked pretty bad and she's in pain. So I dropped her off at the walk-in center, and there was 7 people ahead of her. They did take her in. That's why we're a little late getting back here for the brakes here, but they did get her in and looked at her and said that the one needs stitches. So she was in such pain. That's probably why. I told her she's got a neighbor cat, feral cat, whatever. Put gloves on if you're going to pet them, because you never know. Years back, I had a little gerbil and bit me and tore my thumb out. I didn't cross through here. I thought he was cute and friendly, but he liked to bite. Alright. Get these snug. Click. I'm sure the torque spec is somewhere. Click. Well, they're done. Check our rotor. Make sure it's nothing touching. And then let's put our little clips in, see if they want to stay in there. Our slides. And like so. And have to hold them a minute. And we got the pad mounts this way. So I want that squealer to be on the forwarding part of the rotor. So let's see if we can get this in there without a big fuss. The nice thing with fronts versus rear is that you can turn the wheel out and you get your head in there. Here you can't really see that well. So I usually like to load the bracket. Get that in there. Is that in? No. Should be in. It's not in. So I gotta hurry and get these brakes together. And I'd like to go down and pick her up with her own car. And that'll give me a road test on it. So I gotta get this together. And these spring load clips are fighting me. Let's see if I can push that a little farther. Alright, I might come up from underneath, so I probably got to move the camera. Well, I didn't go underneath. I just reached around so I could see better. And those are in. And I got the squealer on the bottom side hitting the rotor first. And then our slides feel good. Now we're going to take our caliper, and it's got the piston back, got a plastic cap in it, and here's your bleeder with a cap. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this on there. See, that fits nice. So what I'm going to do first is take this grease that comes with it. I wish I had more room on this side. The other side's going to be easier because there's more room. Clip a corner of this. And then what I want to do is put a little bit where it contacts everything. Put a little dab on there, get it all goobed up. They should make these pistons stainless steel. Same thing here, same thing here. And keep that rattling, vibration, whatever down. Got one of Dawson's old socks to wipe my fingers off. Now, these original caliper bolts are in good shape, and I put anti-seize on them already from last time we did it. And so, I guess a learner on this would be disassemble your brakes if you're in the North Country and clean them, because it's cheaper to maintain things than it is to let it get to this point to where you got to buy everything. But there's so much rust on them calipers, and the inside pad was overheated and broke, that it's a combination of that slide and the caliper itself. That piston probably is not moving back well. Alright, now we'll tighten these two bolts up. Remember what size fits it. Not 13. 14. And do these evenly. The bolt's got a little wear on it because it doesn't want to bring the wrench off. I'll use a regular wrench instead of the ratchet wrench. And snug these up. Now see, this nut on the inside is turning right here, so we got to put an open end on that. Is that 17? Maybe. If not, I'll have to get pliers or something to hold that nut from turning. Yeah, 17 just about fit on there. What else we got here? See, what it is the wrench is fat. We need a thinner wrench. So let me go grab a couple wrenches. Alright, I snugged up the bottom. Snugged up the top. So now, see, this moves back and forth nicely. What we're going to work on next, to see if I get this light in here better. I need to get a hook on one. Get it up here. But what we got to do now is take this bolt out, this banjo bolt, and then we're going to start losing brake fluid. So we got to get prepared. That looks like a 13. What wrench we got here? We got a 14. And it's definitely not a 14. Here's a 13. And it's not a 13. Must be a 12. Let's see if we got a 12. And then the hose looks pretty good on this. And that loosened. So see that? We're getting instant fluid. So now we got to be prepared. Let's get a new banjo bolt. There's a banjo bolt with a hole in it. And 2 crush washers. We should always replace these washers because they're soft. One on either side, so 1 on it. And then let's check this again. 12 was that one, and yeah, 12 millimeter. So now we'll get prepared to slide this right together. So take out this plastic plug. You got to keep the dirt out of it. I like to hang on to these plugs, throw them in the toolbox. They don't fit great, but they're handy just for this purpose. And then this, the hose goes downward, so probably should grab a little brake clean. Clean that off good so we don't get any dirt on it. Let's see, we got some brake clean here. Should have some on the shelf. Some Walmart brake clean. Super Tech. I think it is, probably. So let's see that. Got a little rust and debris there. I always wonder why brake clean comes out 90 miles an hour, empties a can in 4 seconds. So you gotta buy another can. Seems like super pressure or something on them. I don't want to lose all our brake fluid, so let's see if we can get our brake line loose. And it is moving, so Crush washers are there. Got a cardboard box under me. This bolt looks good, but I'm going to put a new one in it. It's got a locator pin. That's why I didn't want to wiggle much. So inspect that. Make sure it's clean. Looks good. Grab our crush. Put our new bolt, our crush, and our crush. And then this has a locating hole so it won't turn on you. Thread it in a mile by hand. And there we go. Tighten her down. Snug that up. I'm not going to clean it off yet. I'll show you here. It's got a locator pin right there on the bottom, and then the crush washer, your brake line, crush washer, and a new bolt. So now I'm going to open this bleeder up. Most of them are 10 millimeter. Now I open the hood. I open up the master cylinder. I read the cover, and it says .3, and I have .34. So I filled up the master right to the top because I don't want any air in the system. And so we're going to take our 10 millimeter cracker bleeder. Probably make a mess here. There are cleaner ways to do this. I'm going to put my little pan under here. And we're going to leave this bleeder open and see if it gravity bleeds. Sometimes it does. A lot of times you got to go in and press a pedal once. I'm by myself, so I'm going to do this. Let this set a minute. I'm going to go on over to the other side and start that, come back. But just to be confirmed here, you follow your brake hose, make sure it's not twisted. We got our brake pads in with our, I don't know what you call it, that little anti-squeak. We tested our caliper. It moves back and forth nicely. We got one lug nut holding our rotor on straight, so this didn't disassemble. We got our new stainless hardware in. And now we're going to bleed the brakes. I'm going to leave this open. If there's anything going to come through, it'll fill the chamber, come up and push the air out. It'll basically bleed itself. So I'm going to go on over to the other side, start on that, and I'll come back and check this a couple times. Okay, same thing on this side. We got the rotor with one lug nut holding it on by hand so it didn't wobble around. I set the caliper on here, took the bolts out. I put in the new bolts that were with it. I put our stainless steel slides, put our new pads on with the squealer facing up. Look at this, we're gravity bleeding. Check it out. I got the bleeder loose. Now the dripping stopped. And it's still coming. So no air bubbles. So let me tighten this up. Yeah, it's still coming out. So there was an air bubble. So what we got to worry about is the master cylinder. So I'm going to head over to the other side. And if you noticed, you watched me put the old bolts back on. But this came with new bolts, obviously, so I did put the new bolts on the passenger side also. And this bleeder is not bleeding yet. I'm going to loosen it up even more. See, the bleeder has a little damage on the end of it. And the problem when I got these is it didn't have a hardware kit. So they thought somebody had taken this home, whatever, and brought it back without the hardware kit. So they opened up a new box and gave me hardware. It says a lifetime warranty. So I'm going to let this ride a couple minutes here and see if this comes out. If this starts dripping, we got it. There's a drip. So let's go up and check the master now. Like I said, I filled it up earlier. You never want to get out, and it went down a little. See where she's at. And there's your full mark. Trying to show you better. Yeah, right to there. So I think I'll just top it off just a little more, and I'm going to let them gravity bleed for a while on their own. And then when I get a helper here, we'll get them bled out. Let's make sure our level comes up. Yep. So I'll go back to the bleeders. I'll open them both up. I'm going to set the cap on, not to get dirt in there, but I want air to get in there to force the liquid through to gravity bleed. So we're going to leave it set in there for now. Cap off your brake fluid. Go back around, see if anything's coming out. I think my bucket's on the other side, so I think I'll leave a box on this side to catch our fluid. See that? She's coming. I'd like it to come out faster than that. Sometimes you take the bleeder almost all the way out. And then if they gravity bleed, what I like to do is go in and pump the pedal, close them up and pump the pedal, push it down once slow, and then pump it up, and then you open them up and usually it takes right off streaming. So I'm going to go grab a drink, let this drip a minute if it's gonna, and then I'll close them up and then bleed them. So I'll go ahead and open this side. You see there's a little tiny air bubble there. See the little bubbles? So you can gravity bleed and get most of the air out of these. As long as your master stays full. Doesn't matter how much, and if you drain your fluid, it's great for it because this gets hot, super hot over the years, you know. Crank this thing loose. Look at it, there's another bubble. So once I don't get any more bubble, and she is dripping down a little bit here. I'll be happy. I don't have a pressure bleeder. I'm going to crank this one down. The one I'm worried about is the passenger side because we didn't get much of any liquid over there. And then by going in and pumping the pedal, it's going to move the piston out, so you got pressure on the rotor. So we'll try that next. And then I'll have a helper here shortly. This one's still open. You're way out of focus here. There we go. I'd like it to bleed faster than that. You take the bleeder all the way out. See, it's not coming out. So I'm going to have to go in and There's a little bit in there. I want to check this bleeder because there's a little, look like somebody hammered on the end of it there. So I'm going to tighten this up and go ahead and pump the pedal and get our system totally full to fill up, you know, to fill up here. And kind of awkward holding on to things. One more look at the master cylinder, and she's full, pretty clean. So now we're going to head inside here. We'll pump the pedal. Probably actually just push down on it first. You probably can't see it, but I'll press the pedal down once. And it went all the way down. I let up. I'm going to press it down again. Ooh, I got a half a pedal. And it's firm. It's not getting squishy. I'm going to let up. I'm going to push it down again. And a nice hard pedal. It's pretty high. So what I did is I pushed the pistons out all the way. So now we'll go check the master again. What do we got in there? She's down just a hair. So I'll top that off again. It's still on the full, above the full mark, but I want some liquid to run out of this thing. I'm going to flush some fluid out, so. Keep that topped off. Now we'll go back and open the bleeders up. Now leave this loose again, just sitting here to keep debris out. Tighten our top up here. So I want some liquid out of this side. And if you move your caliper, you see how that piston's out all the way now? Push it on the pads. And then we check to make sure that it didn't stay out, which it didn't. And then we'll loosen this up. I want to bleed this side out. There, look at the fluid come out. You see the bubbles? Hope you can see that. You can. There's quite a bit of bubbles there. And I want a bunch of liquids, what I want. So I'm going to loosen this right up. See that coming out now? I want it to drip in my box, not on the floor. There, you can hear it. And then there's another bubble. Break that bubble free. And then what I like to do is check the condition of the fluid by, you know, hopefully something clean. But look on your finger, and it's not a brown, it's clear. There's no more air bubble there. So I don't need a helper for this. The brake line coming in the top and having the bleeder on the top is allowing the fluid to fill and then push the air out the top. And I've had good luck with a gravity bleed. If you were going to flush the system, I'd want a power assist up there, but we're not flushing the fluid. If the fluid was, you know, really dark, I would recommend it. There's no more air bubble. Nothing. Just fluid. Oh, it looks like we can tighten this side up. I love these little gear wrenches, especially with a swivel. But what they should do on the top is put on off. That way you don't set it on your tool and you're like, oh, it's backwards. Just by looking, you can do it properly. Let's tighten this one up. There's another bubble just come out. See it? Now I gotta move my box over. Running off my wrench now. So let's not be in a hurry. We'll watch this, make sure there's no more air. That looks pretty good. Could be that I had the bleeder so loose it was getting air in along the thread probably. But see what it looks like as we tighten here. No more. So let's tighten this down. This side we got finished. We'll put our cap on. I'll come back with some brake clean and clean this off so we know we have no leak. And then I'm going to road test and I'm going to go underneath here and I'm going to be, you know, certain there's nothing wet. Everything looks good. So our pads, new caliper, new hardware, new crush washers, banjo bolt. Let's go over and do the other side. So we got, knocking things over here. We got, one little air bubble right away. See them? See the air bubbles? I hope you can see that. 10, there's 4 there, right there. Wipe that off. Let's drain this out a little bit. You can hear it dripping. If it flows out gravity, I know the system's clear, you know. And the highest point's up here, where the brake line comes off the body, so you know all the air will be out of it. We get a good stream of fluid. There's no air. I'm going to go up and check the master while it's dripping. And the master's pretty good still. It's just a hair above the full mark. And if I had a helper here, I'd have them press it down and then I'd tighten it and I'd have them press it down and keep doing that. But this is working. Got quite a lot of fluid in this bucket. No more air. Doesn't hurt to flush your system out, you know. That's good. And then just to double check it, I'm going to crack it just a hair. See if any air comes out right away or not. And it doesn't. Put our cap on. I'll spray this off a little brake clean. Check this. That's tight. That's free. We're good to go. What we can do is we'll go ahead and put the tires on it. I'll spray that off with brake clean. We'll put the tires on. I'll give it a road test. I got to put the rubber caps on the rotors here. Some people adjust the e-brake all the way up so it scrubs. I don't really like it that tight because you could never get them back off. And normally it's an emergency brake or parking brake. And as long as it goes up like 4 clicks and you can start to feel tension, that's good for me. So I got to get the rubber caps off the old rotors, put them on, spray this off for brake clean, get the tire out. Alright, I sprayed off the rotors, sprayed off the calipers, made sure there's no brake fluid on it. I did both sides. Now what I'm going to do is put them rubber plugs in right here to seal off our e-brake and go ahead and put our wheels on. We'll road test it. Alright, we got Dawson back now. He just put the tires on, tighten them up. We're going to bring it down and hand torque it. But what we had to do is Grandma had this little rattle going on. And we had some of these plastic clips, I don't know if you can even see them, on the back bumper that we fixed. And so he's going to let that down. We're going to hand torque them. He's checking the torque, and he looked up the spec. It's 88 foot-pounds. They're all good?
Yep.
Awesome. So now we're going to go out on a road test. So he's got a higher brake pedal. Now go around the circle, lightly put on the brakes, come to a stop. Then try the e-brake while you're moving, okay? Make sure it stops the vehicle. I'm listening for noises. Try the e-brake, or did ya?
I just did.
Oh, that's what that noise was, the clicking. All right.
That sound that you heard over there when it
Is it nice and quiet? You gotta go faster.
I don't know if they've got the lock on.
Does it feel pretty good? Sounds nice and quiet, Grandma. All right, so bring it up here in the light. Turn this way so she can exit. We got Grandma's car running, don't we? Probably the next thing we'll have to do is an exhaust because it's getting a little bit on the loud side. Put your windows up, bring your keys in. So Dawson torqued up all the wheels.
You want to go down
Everything
there?
looks pretty good, and now we're gonna finish up on this project. So thank you for watching. This lift worked out great. I could get right under there without crawling. Not too bad. We got some nice shiny new, yeah, slotted grooved rotors, drilled, whatever you call them. New pads, new calipers. So thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Say bye, Dawson.
Bye.
Hey.